everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today we're doing a quick video about the social tyranny of weak people, talking a little bit about the New Zealand shooter. And this is actually a video that I planned to make even before that happened, but this really fits into it as just part and parcel of the general kind of metaphysical cultural dynamic that we're experiencing right now. And again, it's the social tyranny of weak people, right? I've been thinking about this, it's the difference between a big dog and a little dog, right? Who barks the most? The little dog, right? The little dog has to bark because it has no bite. Its bite is utterly ineffectual. It has no potential to do any damage or change or, anything. So the dog has to just yap, 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 yap in order to make itself seem like it has any capability to do anything at all. Whereas the big dog, it knows that with one snap of its jaw, it can utterly destroy its opponent, or enemy or challenger. So, it doesn't have to bark that much. Of course, there are big dogs who bark, and there's plenty of variables in this. But the main point is essentially that true strength doesn't have to lash out, right? It's only weak people that lash out because they feel so impotent. They need to express something to make them feel powerful, right? And, this is a big part of internet culture as well. People lashing out at others because they don't actually understand their own position. They surely don't understand their opponent's position. And it's just this saving face of, I feel like I've got nothing, I have no meaning, I have no power, so I just need to throw shade and hatred on everyone around me, right? And that's the mentality of a weak person. There's weak people on the political right as well as the political left, but in general, what you see is, like I talked about in the last video, you have especially people on the left who themselves have anxiety and fear and, all these neuroses in their mind. They have mental issues, and they are projecting those mental issues onto the wider world around them. And so, with gun control, they don't feel like they can control their own body. They feel no ability to defend themselves against an attacker. And, so their own sense of lack of control over themselves causes them to want to control everyone around them by taking away their lawfully owned firearms, right? It's ridiculous as a premise. It doesn't make any sense at all, but you have people by the millions supporting it because all of them have this anxiety, this social anxiety of, I need someone to protect me, right? And the other people around me who are capable of protecting themselves, I don't trust them. I want them to be controlled by the state. I want their guns to be taken away because I am afraid, right? Whereas if you were actually afraid and you didn't have that anxiety, if there was a real threat challenging you, you would be appreciative in the extreme for your neighbors who own private firearms. Basically, by definition under the Constitution, the militia, right? The militia is not the military. The militia is all the private citizens who carry firearms. And it is absolutely one of the best things about America. Right after the First Amendment, there's a reason it's the first and the Second Amendment is the second, but the First and Second Amendment are absolutely the most important things in America. And the fact that we have people calling for the abolition of the First Amendment, for the abolition of the Second Amendment, this is purely out of the weakness of people that this is even happening at all. Strong people, nobody in this entire planet who is a strong person will ever call for restricting freedom of speech or freedom of private firearms ownership. There is no such thing as an American who supports restricting those things. The people who do support those things are not Americans. I don't care if you were born in this country. I don't care if your great-great-great-great-grandparents have been here since the 16th century. If you don't believe in freedom of speech and freedom of private firearm ownership, you are not an American and you have no right to claim that title. That being said, now we have essentially this division of people. It's gotten so bad because of the media, right? The internet plays a part in itself too, with the algorithms creating these silos and echo chambers, pushing people to see the things that they already like to see. And so, basically pushing the left to the left, the right to the right, everybody in their own, bubble, right? And when people come into the middle area, it's these flame wars and these sparks are going off and people just throwing shade and hate. And, so the internet is a part of that, but really the problem here is the mainstream media. They want to say Donald Trump is dividing America. Donald Trump is not dividing America. Literally everything he's said and done since taking office has been a uniter, has been trying to unite this country and bring them together. But that can't happen because the media doesn't believe in that. The media fosters division. It trades in division. It wouldn't even exist. Nobody would even watch the TV if these big social conflagrations were even happening, right? Trump, as much as they hate him, is the greatest thing that ever happened to cable news. They were already going to their deathbed until Trump came in, and now, you know, basically anybody who has anxiety about Trump, this Trump derangement syndrome, they'll watch the TV religiously, whereas even they beforehand, you know, might have been losing interest, whatnot. And so you have this big divide between, you know, like the boomers watching their TV propaganda outlets, and you have the, you know, the younger generations, especially the millennials and Generation Z, basically fully in the internet, not even looking at newspapers, not even looking at TV, because they know it's propaganda. It doesn't actually inform the person reading those things or watching those things. It's absolutely just to satisfy confirmation bias. And again, there's plenty of that in the internet too, but there's also the full spectrum of all the information on the internet that, you know, a person who has an open mind can go and find that info. And you know, so we have people going and using their rational faculties and finding information and making conclusions about the world that are backed up by evidence, and they're called conspiracy theories. And then there's people who just follow the social narrative. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have any evidence backing it up. They will follow it because it's what other people around them are saying, and it's what feels right? What school teaches us is not to be educated. It's not to actually know things and to learn how to critically think. It's to foster the narrative, right? Get them to accept the narrative. Give them goodies every time they repeat this narrative back to you, right? Like a dog being trained. That's exactly what school is doing with behavioral modification, right? Oh, you clearly are capable of repeating the narrative. All right, you get an A+, you get a gold star. School was not always like this, but today it absolutely is, all the way through higher education into the universities. In fact, it might even arguably be worse in the universities, you know, because at least in the most elementary aspects of mathematics and language, it's like there's maybe less room for propaganda, whereas you get into the university and people can have whole courses in propaganda pretending to be legitimate history, pretending to be legitimate science, pretending to be legitimate literature, but it's all just this narrative. And, you know, a big part of it is intersectionality, right? Communism was defeated in the 21st century in the year that I was born, 1989, when the Soviet Union collapsed. And of course there's communist China today, which is only pseudo-communist, right? And basically, as soon as political communism died, it shifted to cultural Marxism, right? You couldn't win the economic war, you couldn't beat the United States into capitalist powers because they're just too powerful and their system just works too well, right? So they moved to undermining the civilization and the culture through cultural Marxism of, you know, social justice warriors, right? Of this oppressed versus oppressor mentality, right? And that's what intersectionalism is. It's you are nothing but your group identities. If you're black, you're just black. If you're a woman, you're just a woman. And of course the intersection part is, oh, a black woman is 2 times as oppressed as a black man or a white woman, right? And so if you're a gay, one-legged, you know, one-eyed Puerto Rican with Down syndrome and a transgender, right, you're the most oppressed of all. And, you know, all of this centers around the white man. The white man is the universal oppressor, right? There's no such thing as a white person in the world. Even the trailer park trash getting beaten by, you know, his step-parents, right? That person has white privilege, right? And has the same amount of privilege as, you know, the son of Mark Zuckerberg or Bloomberg or any of these, you know, billionaire fools. Right? That's all. As if you're white, you have the privilege, right? But oh yeah, a black kid who's the son of movie studio, you know, of actors and stuff, a millionaire black child, they don't have privilege because they have black skin, right? It's absurd. The true privilege is, as it always has been, wealth and culture, and not just having money, but having the mentality of wealth. Wealth is, you can give millions of dollars to someone who has a poverty consciousness, and it'll be gone within a year, most likely. I'd bet on it. Right? But somebody who has a mentality of wealth can take literal pennies, can take just what's laying on the ground and turn it into a great fortune. It is literally how we think about money and wealth and family and time and investing, you know, versus just blowing it all. And so there's a big, legitimate conversation about the culture today and how it promotes degeneracy, about how it, promotes basically weakness, essentially. Oh yeah, go play video games, vote for more communism. Oh, global warming's gonna kill us all, so just sit back and, hope that the government does something for us, right? I mean, vaccines, right? We don't have any power over our health, so let's export it to the big pharmaceutical companies and just let them poison us and hope that their product will prevent some, gross disease down the line, even as rare as it is. Even before the vaccines were introduced, it was rare, and now it's just infinitesimally rare. So, it's all very sad. There's no real science behind any of the positions of the left. It's just a narrative, and the narrative is so powerful. It's echoed by all the media outlets. It's echoed by all the universities. And, for many people this works. That repetition of the lie genuinely makes people think that it's truth. But it's not. And again, you have people who are questioning it, and they get pushed to the fringe. They get called conspiracy theorists, right? You're a racist for even not hating your own self as a white man and not checking your privilege, right? And so what you do is you create a whole outcast society, that finds a home on the internet, right? These are the incels. These are the MGTOW guys, right? Men going their own way, for those who don't know. It's a human life is relationships, okay? It's relationships, and okay, is church still going? Who's at church today? This is a drinking holiday. Anyway, what was I saying? Human society is based on relationships, right? If we have healthy relationships, generally we have happiness in our lives. And, for the people on the left, they accept artificial relationships based on lies, and that brings them an artificial happiness based on lies, right? Then you have people trying to seek happiness through truth, and, they go to the internet and, they'll find satisfaction in conspiracy theories. But ultimately, if we can't relate to other people in our day-to-day life in this, physical reality, it's actually more of a burden than it is a benefit, right? If we don't actually ground ourselves into this earth, into the natural kind of connection to other people, it turns into a disease. It's a degenerative disease of the mind, even if you're a truther, right? If you know the conspiracy, if you learn all the facts about the craziness of the world, and you can't bring that down to reality and ground it, it's doing you more harm than good, all right? So if you're finding yourself having anxiety, whether you support Trump or against Trump, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, if you're a conspiracy theorist or not, if you have anxiety about political issues, about things that you see on the internet, about things you see on the television, just stop. Turn it off. Just turn it off. Even if this is giving you anxiety right now, turn this off and go outside and come back when you're more at peace, when you're more centered, because that is the state where you have power, okay? So, and so this New Zealand thing, finally getting to the point, right? I read this guy's manifesto, the whole thing, just had to see what was going on with this. There was obviously a lot more to this than, the initial story seemed to convey. And this really, insofar as the people who want gun control, it ticked all the boxes, right? He lawfully acquired the firearms. He basically wrote out his, manifesto of racism and white supremacy and whatnot, and went and made this attack. And the thing is, in the manifesto, he says, I want this to be a catalyst for the left around the world to seize guns from people, so that the white people of the world will finally realize they're being oppressed and they will fight back, right? This kid wants gun control so that there can be a social clash and a fight between the races, between the classes all over the world, right? So it's ironic that you have these liberal pundits literally coming out and giving him his wish of calling for gun control immediately thereafter, just ignoring everything that he put in the manifesto just to cherry pick a few things. Oh, he's a racist. Meh, meh, meh. He thinks Donald Trump is a symbol of white identity. Like, it's really bad. And the thing is that he actually makes some solid points in the manifesto. He could have had 90% of the manifesto, maybe not 90%, I don't want to go that far. He could have had a significant component of the manifesto stay exactly as it was, and then change the conclusion of it to, you know, despite these things, despite these demographic shifts and a, you know, potentially bleak future ahead, I have nothing but optimism and hope. I will be going forth to, you know, find a partner and create my own family and help build this beautiful, you know, humanity and these beautiful white people and everything that they've brought to the world. Right? He could have had that conclusion based on all of his existing evidence, and it still would have been 100% valid. It would have been more valid than it otherwise was, because obviously he's going to lead to all the things he wanted in one sense, of more gun control and a clash between the left and the right, bringing things potentially to, you know, the beginning of a civil war. I don't think that'll happen, but all the cards are there. If it weren't for the Jedi, people like myself and people like you guys trying to build that balance, it very well could go down that timeline. But, you know, luckily we are here and we are building that balance, and, you know, we will be able to bring this thing back together. But that's not going to stop all the crazy leftists from calling for gun control, and, you know, the rhino Republicans avoiding the point entirely and trying to virtue signal instead of acknowledging the real point, which Donald Trump is still pressing forward with, that it's not just, oh, racist white people being afraid of Islam. The problem is also the foreign cultures coming up, the illegal immigrants, you know, as well as Islamic immigrants. It's weakening the American culture. We need to treat that as something valuable, because it is, and control immigration and the diluting of that culture to a reasonable degree. It doesn't have to be absolute. We can absolutely have immigrants coming into this country, but we can't have the dilution and dissolution of our culture. Otherwise, it's not going to lead to anything good. And, you know, luckily we have Donald Trump out there, you know, maintaining the best form of this argument, which is civic nationalism, right? I definitely acknowledge that, you know, I mean, I focus more on the Irish and the Celtic aspect, but, you know, white people have a very beautiful history, and it's not as horrific and slave-centered as, you know, the left would have us believe. We invented this whole world, right? From Maxwell's laws and the electromagnetic theory to everything that we see here, and this world of cell phones, and me broadcasting this video right into your phone or your computer in your house, thousands of miles away. Who knows? Depending on who you are, you could be anywhere and still instantly receive this information. That's a miracle, and it's based off of us being honest with ourselves, developing a culture that respects achievement and investment of, you know, capital resources. And it's a good thing, and, you know, it's not a problem to be proud of white culture. It is a problem to have hatred in your heart against other people, right? I love myself, I love white people, most of them at least, and I also love black people, I love Asians, I love Hispanics. I love their cultures, but I also respect them as distinct from my own, right? They're all good. If I don't have love for myself, how can I have love for the others? The leftists pretend to have that position, right? Oh, I'm evil, white people are evil, check my privilege. Oh, but I love Hispanic culture. Oh, I love Asians. I love black culture, just as long as it's not white. Okay, that's racism. You're a racist if you think that. Most of the left is racist because they think that people are their social group, which is the definition of racism. Right? But here's the thing. Racism isn't the problem. Even with the New Zealand shooter, racism is not the problem, okay? He could be racist. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Racism in and of itself does not harm people, right? I discriminate in my daily life. I always will. The dumbest decisions I've ever made were when I wasn't discriminating, when I was just ignoring the red flags in people's behavior and saying, oh, well, you know, I'll just ignore that because people are all good. That's how I've had shit stolen. That's how I've, you know, had bad things happen in my life, is by not discriminating. Discrimination is not intrinsically bad at all, right? Would you discriminate against who you leave your child with? Yes. If you don't, you're an idiot. Would you discriminate against who you allow to perform dental work on your teeth? If you don't, you're an idiot. You know, changing your car, building your house, right? Painting a painting. You discriminate against people based on their behavior and their qualifications and their vibration, right? It's not a bad thing to discriminate. It's not even a bad thing to discriminate based on race, right? What's bad is the hatred in people's hearts. And this is what Jesse Lee Peterson talks about. Racism doesn't exist. His main point is not that it doesn't exist, is that racism is not evil. Evil is evil. If we're going to talk about the problem, we should talk in terms of evil, not in terms of racism, right? Because, you know, again, a person can discriminate based on race, but if they have love in their heart, it's going to be fine. They can live with white people, they can still trade with black people and Asians, but they have compassion in their heart. They just want to be with their own kind. That's totally fine. There's no problem with that at all. The problem is the hatred. A person can not be racist, can treat every person as equally, but if they have hatred in their heart, they will harm all of those people equally with their lies and with their violence and with their addiction and their weakness and sapping of life force from people around them. And this is the communist mentality, absolutely 100%. And this guy, this shooter, he was an eco-fascist. He was literally a racist communist. That's what he was. He was not a conservative, he was not even a liberal, he was a racist communist. Okay, an eco-fascist in his own words. And again, if you're not racist but you have hatred in your heart, you're still going to cause pain and suffering to people. But you can be a full-blown racist and still have compassion in your heart, and there's no problem whatsoever. This is really the point that I want to get home to people. If you love the white race, if you want the white race to survive, go and get married and have some kids, okay? That's the only thing that's going to matter. Promote your own culture. Don't talk about bashing other cultures. Don't talk about how Islam is evil, or the Jews are evil, or the Asians or the blacks are evil. Just love your own people and promote your own values and create children and train them to be good people too. Because that's so much more important for, you know, developing our species and developing the white race, right? I don't particularly care about advancing the white race. I don't care about the races in general. I care about a moral people coming forward to inherit a new global civilization that is not the New World Order, but is a New World Order of some kinds. I want a world where people can come together and they can stay separate. It's a world of freedom, right? This is very much within our grasp, but the only thing standing in our way is our own tendency to lie to ourselves and deceive ourselves and trade illusions for reality and hold those illusions higher than reality so strictly that when direct evidence presents itself before our eyes, like these people will cast it aside. And they'll say, no, I believe in the illusion. I don't care about reality. I'm going to keep believing. I'm going to keep believing that gun control is good. I'm going to keep believing the vaccines are safe. I'm going to keep believing that the globe is warming and the climate's going to kill us all in 12 years. Again, this shooter was a communist. He was raving on about overpopulation, right? He is concerned about the overpopulation of Earth, but at the same time wants to increase the white race, right? So in his mind, again, as all leftists, they see it as a zero-sum game, right? I have to kill these bad people and promote my people. You don't have to kill anybody. Just promote your own people. Just have kids, make a family, teach them good values, and build that future. Because I promise, everything will be fine in the future and in the present if you can just commit to that subtle spiritual reality and that fact, that stillness inside, right? That we are connected to the entire universe, as is everyone in this species. The Muslims, the Buddhists, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to go on a multicultural, feel-good, you know, la-la, but this is the truth, guys. We are all children of God. We are all connected to that divine spark of the universe. And we can reach across the aisle here. It's again, I'm not against immigration. I want merit-based immigration. I want people to come in who love this country and who love us and who want to work with us. There's no problem with that. I got no problem. There is no problem objectively. And a white nationalist might disagree with me on that. In fact, I'm sure they would. But they're wrong, right? If people come in and they're on the same vibration, that's what matters. We can build a team. We can work together. But if you come in here and you hate us, I don't care if your skin's white or black. If you come in here and you hate us, there ain't going to be anything good that's going to come out of us working together. And so that's my video today, the social tyranny of weak people. Be a strong person. Cultivate strength within yourself, in your body, in your mind, in your emotions, in your spiritual stance, right? Just take your position and know what you value and rep that position with all your soul, force, and might, because that is so much more important for protecting our lives as individuals and our collective identity as a race, as a species, you know, because we have a glorious, beautiful future ahead. It's potential that we don't have a glorious, beautiful future, but that's only if we abnegate our position and fail to maintain those, you know, values going into the future. As long as we do, It's all gonna be fine, guys. I promise it's all gonna be fine if you just lose the fear and maintain your position. Oh, look, I'm a Nazi. Yeah, see? The fact that they're unequivocally reporting that symbol as white supremacy just shows you everything you need to know about the narrative and about how people just make things up and elevate it above actual reality. Anyway, that's my video. God bless to you all, whether you're on the left or the right, you're black or you're white, you're up or you're down, because, again, we're all down for the cosmos, and we're all rising up into the future in this, great quantum timeline, this great shenanigan factory that is the universe. And, yeah, it's all gonna be okay. Just lose the hate, lose the fear, and just have love in your heart for yourself, for your family, for your people, and for your species. And that's all. That's all I got to say today. Much love to you guys. I'll see you next time. Cheers, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I was going to do a video about St. Patrick and how he's a made-up character by the Church of Rome during the conquest of the island in the 15th century. But I figured I'd lay low on the references to Aryan culture for a bit, in deference and respect to the families of the victims in New Zealand, which was a genuine tragedy by any measure. So yeah, again, much love to you guys. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Ah.